Once Upon a Time Stories from Leicester Library's Neighbourhood Services. I'm Paul, and the story I'm going to share with you today is Finn McCool, the famous Irish giant. A time in Ireland full of magic and legend. Giants, leprechauns, fairies, dragons. The country was full of fantastic sights. Now, Finn was married to a wonderful woman called Una, and they built the house at the very top of Knockmany Hill, one of the tallest mountains in Ireland. And the reason he built the house at the top of that hill was so he could see for miles and miles and miles, to see if anybody was creeping up on him. Now, Una, most days, would be at home, getting the house clean and spick and span and cooking wonderful food when Finn came home. Finn was working with some of the other Irish giants on a fantastic project to build a road from Ireland to Scotland, because their cousins were in Scotland and they wanted to visit them without getting their feet wet. What they were building was a causeway, a road across the Irish Sea. And in fact, if you go to the north coast of Ireland today, you can see part of that giant causeway. They were using these strange, wonderful stones that looked like 50p pences. Well, they were working on this, as you might imagine, for days and days and months and years and years. This was a big, big project to take them to Scotland. But there was a problem. There was another Irish giant called McCool, the biggest, fiercest of all the Irish giants. When he walked, the ground would shake like an earthquake. In his pocket, he carried a thunderbolt that he'd squash flat with one blow of his fist. And if he met anyone, he'd get it out and show them. See this? That's what I can do. I can knock you out any time I want. And he'd beaten every Irish giant except for one. And that one, of course, was Finn McCool. And McCool swore by the green that day or night, summer or winter, he would catch Finn McCool and give him the biggest beating of his life. Which is why Finn had built his house at the top of Knockmany Hill. So if he got sight that McCool was coming after him, he'd run off and hide very, very quickly. So one day, he was walking down the causeway and someone said, "McCool's coming!" "Whoa," said Finn, "I'm getting out of here. He's scary and he's after me. I know he has." So he ran back home as fast as he could. Una was surprised to see him running up the hill. She said, "Finn, what are you doing back home from your work so early?" He said, "Oh, I was missing you so much. I wanted to come back and give you a big kiss." "Oh, no," she said. "I know you, Finn. Tell me the truth." He says, "It's that McCool. I've heard he's after me, and I've got to find someone to get away. I've got to hide." "Calm down, Una. You've been running away from him for years and years and years. Sit down, relax, and we'll sort something out." So she sat Finn down by the fire. He put on his slippers, lit his pipe. He had a big jug of Guinness and some soda bread to eat as well. And he started to feel a little bit better. But he was still worried about that McCool. He said, "He's going to catch me this day. I know he is. What am I going to do?" Una said, "I've got a plan. I can do some magic." And she could, because she was a wonderful woman who knew many wonderful things. And she took 9 woolen threads, each of a different colour, and made 3 plats. She put one over her right arm, one round her right ankle, and another one over her heart. And then she knew she could make the magic strong. And then she got 21 iron frying pans and put them inside some bread that she was baking and piled them up in the cupboard. Then she made some soft, wet cheese and she rolled them round so they looked like stones, and she placed them on the ground. "Well," she said, "the next bit of the plan, Finn, is for you to dress up like a baby." "I'm not dressing like a baby. I'm an Irish giant. I've got my reputation to think of." "Oh, well, I think I hear McCool coming. And at that very moment, the house started to shake and shiver. Oh, Finn, he's coming to get me. Oh, what am I going to do? Come on, quick. Get into your baby's clothes. Put on a little bonnet, little nightie, little booties too, and sit down in the cradle and keep quiet. But don't forget, the source of McCool's strength is the middle finger of his right hand, which is made of brass. Without that, he's nothing. So Finn put on the baby's clothes, scrunched down in the cradle, and tried to make himself as small as possible. At that very moment, there was a great thump on the door. Una opened it up. Right, said McCool. Where's that Finn? He'll not escape me this day. I've been waiting to catch him for years, to knock him out. See this? He pulled the thunderbolt out of his pocket. Squash flat. And that's what I'm going to do to your Finn. Oh, what a shame, Una. Well, don't worry. Sit yourself down. He's out doing a few messages. Sit yourself down. He'll be back in an hour or so. McCool squeezed himself through the door. Well, it was a great big giant's house, and he was a big broth of a giant. Squeezed himself in down and sat down in the cradle. Finn was sitting there shaking, trying to make himself as small as possible. McCool looked over and said, "Woo, that's a big baby you've got there." "Oh, yes. Don't worry about him. He's just a little bird, a little baby." McCool was getting a little bit worried because that baby was the biggest baby he'd ever seen in his life. He's thinking, well, if the baby's bigger than that, how big is Finn? Perhaps he's a little bit bigger than I thought. At that moment, Una came in with a tray piled up with bread, butter and cabbages. Now, McCool was as greedy as he was a bully. He snatched up one of the loaves of bread and took a great big bite. He bit straight through the bed into one of the iron frying pans that was hidden inside. "Two of my teeth smashed and broken. What sort of bread is that?" It's Finn's favourite. Perhaps try another one." He picked up another loaf of bread, took another big bite. Same thing happened. He bit through the bed into the iron frying pan, and two more of his teeth were smashed and broken. Finn decided to get on the act. "Hungry, hungry, hungry." "Oh," said Una, "my little baby's feeling a bit peckish. Here, have some bread." She passed a loaf of bread over to Finn. 3 big bites, gulp, gulp, and it was gone. Of course, there wasn't an iron frying pan in that bread, but McCool was looking and staring. "Whoa," he said, "that baby can eat that bread. That broke my teeth. That's a special baby you've got there." "Oh, yes," said Una. "Instead of playing with toys and dolls and things like that, likes to play with stones. Here, baby." She gave Finn one of the soft, wet, round cheeses. He squeezed all the water and then swallowed it down. McCool was not to be outdone by a baby. So he picked up a hard, white stone. And he squeezed, but not one drop of water could he get out of it. And then he opened his mouth. Up! For a second, nothing happened. And then he opened his mouth. The howling and the screaming could be heard for miles, because every single tooth in his mouth was smashed and broken and gone. Well, it took a while to compose himself. And then he said, "That's a strange baby you got there, baby. I need to have a look at your teeth. They must be magical. They must be incredibly strong. Open your mouth up." Finn opened up his mouth as wide as he could. And McCool started to tap and rub and poke the teeth. Seemed like ordinary sort of teeth. He put the middle finger of his right hand that was made of brass, further into Finn's mouth. Finn opened his mouth a little bit wider. And he bit it straight off. He spat out, and there was McCool looking at the middle finger on his right hand that was gone. My finger! And at that moment, all his strength started to disappear. It was like a burst balloon. All his his strength and his courage was pouring out of him. And now it was payback time for Finn. Years and years he'd been running from Cuchulainn, and now this was his chance. He jumped out of the cradle, he jumped on Cuchulainn, he punched him, he backed him, he swung him around the house. He had so much fun. Until finally, at last, he opened the door, and Cuchulainn crawled away, beaten and shrunken and gone. Well, after that, Finn and Una sat down at the table and enjoyed a late tea. They'd had a wonderful time, and Finn was thinking he had the cleverest wife in all Ireland. And there are many stories of Finn McCool and some of his other adventures with the Irish giants. And he always had Una to watch his back and help him with her magic. Hope you've enjoyed that story. I've enjoyed sharing it with you. So you share it with someone else. Enjoy your stories this summer. Bye.